vlog. It is time for my wrap up for the month of June. And first we're going to start with the books that I read off my 26 and 26 list. So here is my 26 and 26 list. I only read one book off this list, which was The Thief of the Sunlight. But I'm in a really good spot. I only have 7 books left with 6 months to read. And I'm pretty sure at least 2 of these are on my I think 3 of them. I think the New Couple in 5B, and then I think Heaven Breaker and Model Behavior are on my July TBR, so it's really going to put me in a good place to make sure that I finish all of these by the end of 2026. Next up, we'll look at my numbers. I'm getting a little too tall here. So for June, you can see I started out with 359 books. I did read only 26 books in June, only 26. I read some really big ones in there, and I'm just about done with The Rhythm of War, but that won't get finished until July. We did buy 17 new books. I did do some tweaking and some playing around, and I read some stuff that wasn't on my TBR. So our current TBR is 353. For my little grid over here of my favorite book this year that I've read, this month I picked Battle of the Bookstores as my favorite book. This was a bookstore. It's a version of You've Got Mail, a modern retelling. We've got 2 bookstores. We have a guy who owns a romance bookstore and a lady who owns a more fiction, general fiction bookstore, and somebody wants to combine them down to one bookstore attached to the coffee shop. And so he's kind of pitted them up against each other, and they decide that they're going to work together instead of against each other. It was super cute. If you're doing Herkid and you're looking for a romance for Bookception, I recommend this one. They mentioned several really good reads. One of them being, I think The Princess Bride was in here, and a couple of others that they mentioned because they do book referrals and stuff like that. It was a cute read, and there's a bunch of books mentioned in there that you could possibly use for your Bookception. And I tried to Google the list of books that were in there, but every time I pulled it up, I wasn't getting a full list. But it was still really cute. And I can definitely recommend it. As far as my thing, I got June versus May, and I did pick Ghost Story to win. I just really loved Ghost Story. It was just a really good one in that series. It was a very emotional one. We did read Cold Days this month, and I really enjoyed that one. That one was a really kind of there was a lot of humor in it and fourth wall breaking and stuff that makes those stories really good. But Ghost Story was a really heart-tugging, emotional one. So that is the book that I picked for the win. Now I'm up to the first half of the year. I get to pick a winner for the first half of the year. And the 3 books that I have listed here is I have Assassin's Apprentice. I really enjoyed the first book of that trilogy. I think it was my favorite of the 3. Mostly because I do see some of the faults in the story, but this one was just such a good setup. It started out, I didn't think I was going to like it. I was like, oh no, this is going to be just not quite what I like. And then I was totally in, probably 10-15 chapters in. Really, really enjoyed it. Life's Too Short is an Abby Jimenez book. I love all her books. This is the only one I've read so far this year, so maybe it's cheating a little. I just love how emotional her books get to you. There's the romance, but there's romance between 2 very real people. It doesn't feel as Faithful Soul sometimes as some other romances. She really gets you in there. It's really good. And then, of course, my Ghost Story from my Jim Butcher series, Dresden Files, all one of those. And I think I'm deciding real time that I'm going to pick Assassin's Apprentice as my favorite for the quarter, for the first half of the year. It was a really good fantasy read. I hear the series gets better as you read the rest of, it's not a series, they're like trilogies, but interconnected world trilogies. I do hear that some of the other ones are even better, so I am looking forward to eventually finding time to read a bunch of those. But that is my wrap up of June. I'm going to have to figure out how to do this for the last half of the year. So as far as my June TBR for this month, I had carried over Limited Time from my May, because any book I don't finish on my TBR, I carry it over to the next month and try to accomplish that. I did read probably the first 100 pages of this book. I couldn't get into it. I wasn't into it right now. I don't think it's bad. I just think that it's not the right time for me to read this one. So I'm going to soft DNF this one, and I'm not going to roll it over another month. So I'm going to put it back on my shelf, make it eligible for the TBR game in a future month. Probably maybe more like a fall. It's definitely getting me fall witchy vibes. So it might really be a good thing to pick up in September or October or something later. So that was one book I didn't finish. The other book I didn't get to in my June reading is The Demon That Haunts Him. So I will be moving this over into my July TBR. This is a book that's supposed to be like my Jim Butcher Dresden series that I really enjoy. But he's a redneck and he's on meth. I got the honor of meeting the writer and bought this from him at a con. I think this is independently published. There's not a publisher on here. So I got to meet them at a con in New Orleans back in January. I think they're going to be at Dragon Con. So I wanted to read this before we go to that in September. So that I could tell them what I thought of their book. So I am going to continue to put this one on my July TBR as an addition to try to get this read in order before September, because there was also another author's book that we got in that January con that's going to also be there in September. So I wanted to try to pick up and check out both of those books before the con. Also, June, I did finish Herkid 2. I didn't submit any of it yet. Today I think is officially the first day of Herkid 3. I'm really excited about doing this journey, and I got my book, so I'm so excited to write in it. I am still using the spreadsheet a little bit, just because of the tabs finding. I think I'm going to put tabs on this so that I can find each prompt quicker as I'm reading them, and then probably pull them as I finish them. So I haven't done that yet, but I'm probably going to work on that over the next couple of days. So normally on TikTok, I would go through all the books that I read every week. So also at the end of every week, I'll be reviewing which of those books applied to a Herkid book, because for Herkid, I think you only have to read like 160 books or whatever, and I read twice as many as that. So not every book I read will be a Herkid qualifying book. Because my main goal is to get through my physical TBR. This is a second fun addition to doing that. So hopefully, as I'm reading through, most of my books will apply for some of these prompts, especially early on. So I'll be posting videos on my Herkid journey, and then figuring out how to submit those and everything as we go through. I don't know if you do it as every book you read, or if you do it when you complete a challenge. I'll have to look into that more. But I am looking forward to sharing this Herkid journey with you guys every week to let you know how I'm updating it. I will not be doing the gamification customization, mostly because I want to get through a lot of my backlog. So I will just be doing the regular game. And I'm really excited about that. I do read a lot of lit RPG, so I think the choose your own party is going to be super easy for me with my lit RPG and fantasy read. We kind of went through and we're looking at what's on my TBR and what I could add. I'm not a huge planner. I think what we'll do is we'll probably do July, August, and maybe even September, just kind of like as normal, grabbing books that fit our TBR cards. And then for the other 9 months, if I'm falling behind in some of these categories, or as I'm identifying some of the other ones, we'll pull those out as a prompt. So maybe something like, I'm assuming bookception is something that's going to come naturally. Like I'll read a book, it'll mention a book, and I'll be like, I should do that one, and then I'll do it. But for some of the more outreaching challenges, like testicular counting, we can add those to our TBR prompts for our TBR game to make sure we get those, and then remove them once we meet the criteria. So I'm really looking forward to mixing these prompts into my TBR cards this fall, after I kind of like see what I do naturally. But that is the conclusion of my June reading month. So thanks.